Hey everybody, Jim here. Welcome back. Today I am featuring once again some Japan exclusive console puzzle games, or at least as far as I know these were Japan exclusive. I did one of these before and the reception was pretty positive, so I decided I would once again feature some really cool puzzle games because I myself am a big fan of puzzle games, kind of an understated thing on the channel. So down in the description, I will put a link to the first video so you can go and check it out and get caught up on some really awesome Japan-only puzzle games. But for now, let's take a look at these. I have a half a dozen puzzle games right here, and they're all pretty damn good. And we're going to get started with this one, which is Super Gussun Oyoyo. And I've talked about this game at least once before. I really like this game. Essentially what it is this little guy right here named Gussun. He wanders back and forth all across the screen, and somewhere in the stage is going to be an exit. It may be up high in some corner somewhere, or he may start on this side of the screen and the exit is over here, and there's like this huge empty gap in between. And basically what happens is Tetris-shaped pieces sort of come down these blocks that you need to use to build steps for Gussun or to build a bridge for him. Basically, you need to facilitate him getting from where he is to the exit of the stage, and a whole host of things make that actually like a really tall order. First of all, Gussun, like I said, just sort of randomly wanders back and forth. He's like a lemming. So he'll just walk off of a cliff and die. He'll drown. He'll walk into enemies. He'll do basically anything. It's just all totally, random. So you are really in a tight spot trying to at once build steps and other various platforms for him, while also trying not to crush him. Also trying not to, because if you drop a block directly in front of him too quickly, it'll scare him and he'll sort of go running off in the other direction, and that could spell disaster for him. He could go running into an enemy or running off into a pitfall. So you have to be really careful with how you're placing your blocks, but also there's like a ticking clock kind of element in a lot of the stages, because there will be water rising from the bottom of the stage. So if you're not fast enough, he will drown. Enemies will also descend from the top of the screen that will kill him if they come into contact with him. So you need to sometimes build barriers between him and the enemies, or if little rockets appear on screen instead of a puzzle piece, you can use that to kill the enemies. Some of the enemies can be crushed with blocks, but you have to be careful not to crush Gussun with the blocks. So it's like there's so much stuff really demanding your attention in this game. You have to monitor what Gussun is doing so he doesn't get killed, but you also have to make sure you're positioning all the blocks just right, but you also have to keep an eye on the enemies, and you have to keep an eye on the water. So there's so much stuff dividing your attention in this game that initially I found it really difficult and kind of frustrating, but just playing it, how unique it was, and just it's a good looking game. The soundtrack is pretty good, so I was getting into it even though it was kind of making me want to pull my hair out a little bit. And I would say after maybe a couple of hours with it, getting more accustomed to the gameplay and getting better adept at sort of monitoring the screen, monitoring everything that's going on to try to keep Gussun from dying, this became just extremely fun. So this is one on the Super Famicom I can easily recommend picking up. And it's not the only game in the series. I think there's a second game on the Super Famicom, and there's also one I think on the Saturn. So yeah, Super Gussun Oyoyo. This is a really good puzzle series. Again, the gameplay is really fun, very challenging and unique as far as puzzle games go. And again, the visuals and the sound design, it's all really good. So Super Gussun Oyoyo, that's one I highly recommend picking up for puzzle game fans. And next up, a game in one of my favorite puzzle series. I think a lot of people share my sentiments on that. This is Puyo Puyo Sun, which is actually a play on words, because this is the third game in the series, and the Japanese word for 3 is Sun. So this is Puyo Puyo Sun, which is a double entendre, if you will. And essentially, this is sort of like classic Puyo Puyo, the way you remember it. If you remember Puyo Puyo, that is. If you've never played a game in the series before, this would be a good place to start. Any of them would, really. But essentially, it's a versus puzzle game. And your little Puyos, little multicolored jelly guys, will come down from the top of the screen, and you just match them up by color. And really what you want to do in this game is chain together as many combinations as possible, because when you do that, your character performs like their little special attacks, and then you fill your opponent's side of the screen with all kinds of junk Puyos, which just make it like harder and harder for them to clear their screen. And obviously, eventually, once somebody's Puyos make it all the way up to the top of the screen, they are the loser. What is different about this game is they introduce the Sun Puyos, and essentially, after you've cleared away a bunch, these will come down, and Sun Puyos are really cool because they can be incorporated into any combination of colors. So they kind of make it easier to get some like really big combos, but you have to get combos first before you can get the Sun Puyos. But once you have the Sun Puyos, then you can really start racking them up. So that's a really cool, like, interesting little twist on the classic Puyo Puyo formula. So this is just a fantastic game. It's on the Saturn. I believe it's also on the PlayStation. And I think there's also like a Game Boy Color version as well. So there are a handful of ways to play Puyo Puyo Sun. It's really good. I want to say one of the better games in the Puyo Puyo series, but I really can't think of like a bad one in the series. Really just play any of them, play them all, but they all offer something a little different, a little unique. And in this case, it's the Sun Puyos, and it's really cool. Also, the graphics are great, and the sound design. It all has a very like tropical feel to it. I mean, why not? It's a very sunny game. So the music, the visuals, it's all really great, and the gameplay is super fun and addictive. So if you like Puyo Puyo, or if you've played like however they localized them back in the 16-bit days, like I think Kirby's Avalanche and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. If you've played one of those, you've played a Puyo Puyo. So if you liked them, you'll definitely like this. Puyo Puyo Sun for your Sega Saturn. Pick it up. It's awesome. Next game in the pile, and let me read the full title. It is Shingata Kururin Pa. Shingata Kururin Pa. And this is a sequel to the original Kururin Pa. And both of them are really great games. And what makes this series unique is that, I mean, at first glance, it looks basically like Puyo Puyo or Tetris Battle Gaiden or any other sort of one-on-one versus puzzle game. What I like about this game, though, is that it takes that sort of like generic puzzle formula, but it includes something kind of cool in the form of bombs. So essentially, the whole point is to match up a whole bunch of wicks for a bomb, or not a wick. What is the thing for a bomb? Fuse. You have a whole bunch of different pieces of fuse, and they're all different shapes. And the idea is that you sort of link them all together and have a bomb at the end, so that when a flame comes, you can burn through the fuse, get to the bomb, and have a nice explosion. And again, it's just like Puyo Puyo or Battle Gaiden. If you get these big combos, then you can fill your opponent's side of the screen with a whole bunch of junk. And it's fun trying to like get your fuses and all these like little twists and turns, link everything up, because it's not the same as just pairing things up by color or just creating a line. You have to really like pay attention to the different shapes that are coming. So like when you can see the next shape coming up, the one you have now, you're going to want to position it in a certain way that when the next one comes, you can sort of like keep linking them together. That way when a flame finally does come, it can go through and just burn all across the screen, and hopefully eventually make its way down to a bomb or a collection of bombs and just blow up and clear your side of the screen and then totally screw over your opponent's side. So Kururin Pa, and this one, the sequel, Shingata Kururin Pa. Both really good. You have a handful of characters to choose from, just like in a Puyo Puyo game. And I don't really know what the differences are here. I mean, basically, you blow the stuff up, you make junk for the opponent, and that's about it. But just the fact that it's fuses, and it's more of a link things together as opposed to just match up certain colors and things like that, makes these games really fun. They really are. and I think they did make at least 1 or 2 more games in this series, so a lot of fun. Kururin Pa for the PlayStation, definitely pick it up. And by the way, if you don't know how to spell Kururin Pa, which is perfectly understandable, down in the description, the titles for all these games are going to be there. So the spellings will be there, so if you want to go and look up some more video on YouTube elsewhere, you know, look up some Let's Plays, or just head straight to eBay or Yahoo Auctions or wherever, you can go ahead and go for it. Next game, though, another game for the PlayStation. This one is Haunted Junction. And this one, as far as I know, is based on a series of manga and anime that's about, like, I think, like, ghost hunters or something to that effect. This game, though, I've talked about it at least once before, and I like it a lot, because what's different about this game is that in, you know, some of these other ones, like in Puyo Puyo or Tetris or something like that, the screen, it's static and you're moving your pieces around. In this game, however, as the pieces, they're collections of multicolored balls, and they can float in from all the different areas of the screen, and in the center is where basically your puzzle board is. And so instead of moving the puzzle pieces around, you have to flip the board around in various directions in order to essentially, like, catch the colored balls coming in and match them up. And obviously when you match up, I think it's 4 of the same color, they all pop and disappear. And the whole point is that on each board is like a pentagram, like a pentagram circle, and it has different colors, so it could be like yellow or blue or green or red. And the whole point is to maneuver the balls that are coming in on the screen onto that disc, and whatever color it is, you have to link them up, clear them from the board, and then also clear the disc. And sometimes the disc will have multiple colors, so after you clear one, it spins and all of a sudden it's a different color, and now you have to start rotating the screen again and trying to get the other colored balls coming in. So it's very fun. There is also a 2-player mode on here, which is, you know, good for some one-on-one action. But as far as puzzle games go, I mean, this one, like, it's not the best I've ever played, but it's definitely unique. There aren't a whole lot of puzzle games out there, as far as I know, where the whole point of the game is to maneuver the screen around and not to maneuver puzzle pieces around. So Haunted Junction, this is a really good game. It's not, like, mind-blowing on the graphics and sound level. I mean, you can tell that this is sort of a budget title, and that's okay, because it's also really fun, and I think it's also a fairly affordable game as of right now. I think I picked up my copy for like 1,000 yen, or maybe like a little less than $10, and that was several years ago, I think, but still, it shouldn't be very much today. So Haunted Junction for the PlayStation, a really great game, and again, unique in the world of puzzle games. And next up, this game I've just been playing the hell out of. It's so much fun. It's on the PlayStation. This game is Engacho. And Engacho, actually only pretty recently picked this one up, maybe like 2 or 3 months ago. And I've just been having like so much fun with it. One is because it really has like that like Japanese quirkiness, like when you think about like Japanese exclusive games that are like, you know, really weird, and you think about, you know, kind of like the crazy stuff's in it, kind of like a Cho Aniki, for example. Like Cho Aniki is like something that can never be released outside of Japan, just because of like how absurd and strange it is. Engacho is just like that. Essentially, you're a little kid who, his dad, I guess, is mad that he's like a wimp, so he sort of throws him into this, I don't know if it's like an alternate dimension or it's just like some area of their home or something, but this place where these little creatures are, and they're just really, really disgusting. So you have like an armpit monster, a guy who's basically just a giant nose with boogers and snot coming out, and a dude with a giant tongue, and an ass. A flying ass. And I did a pickups video and I featured this game, and I just couldn't get over the flying ass. There's an ass with wings in this game, and if you run into it, it uncorks its ass and it takes a shit on you. It's crazy, but it's hilarious. But yeah, if you run into any of these creatures on the board, he'll gas you with his armpit stench, he'll lick you, he'll blow snot all over you. It's really disgusting. but it's also pretty damn funny. And essentially, each board there you have a start and an exit, and the creatures are on the board as well. And every time you move, they move. So one will move in the exact same direction that you do, one will move in the opposite direction, and then the other two will move in some different combination. So essentially, if you accidentally walk into the same space as one of the monsters, then it's game over. You have to start over again. So you have to really understand the movement of the monsters and move accordingly. So eventually, I mean, it gets really, really difficult. It starts off easy enough where there'll be like one creature on the screen, and it sort of gets you accustomed. So it'll start with like this guy, for example, and you can move and get accustomed to like how he moves with you, and then you can get to the end of the board and then move on to the next one, and it's one of the other ones. So slowly over time, it's showing you like how each creature reacts to your movements. Then it starts to ramp up the difficulty, where maybe you'll have multiples of the same creature, or you'll have multiples where it's like 2 or 3 or 4, and eventually it's really, really tricky to navigate your way to the exit. And I've put quite a lot of time to this game. It's really fun. I want to do like a full review of it at some point, just because like as far as puzzle games go, it's quirky, it's unique, it's weird, it's really, really challenging eventually, and it's a lot of fun. Like, it's extremely addictive. So this is a game, I had never heard of this game before until I think I found it in a Surugaya somewhere, and I just took a look at it, and I looked at the cover, and I looked at the back. I saw it was a puzzle game, and I saw it had all these weird creatures on it, and it wasn't very expensive either. I think it was 20 or 15 bucks or something like that. So I looked at it and I said, this looks like something I'd like to play. And I'm really happy with it, and I highly recommend this game to everyone who loves puzzle games, you love a good challenge, and you love just like a little bit of Japanese weirdness. Engacho, people. Look for the game with the ass with wings on it. You will not be disappointed. Engacho, such an awesome game. And last but not least, a game that makes me happy not only as a puzzle game fan, but also as a fan of pro wrestling. This is Toukon Inokimichi Pazuru de Da. So there you go. That's quite a mouthful. Again, I'll have it down in the description. But yes, Inokimichi Pazuru de Da. What this game is, again, this is another one that's very similar to Puyo Puyo, I guess. You have multicolored orbs that descend from the top of the screen, and you have to match them up by color in order to clear them. And you can match up like a handful, and they'll turn into like a bigger orb. And then when you clear those from the screen, they're worth more points. But also, like Puyo Puyo, it's a one-on-one game. So all the characters in this game are really famous professional wrestlers, specifically Japanese wrestlers from the 90s and 80s and 70s, I guess, in the case of Antonio Inoki. So Antonio Inoki is in this, Jushin Thunder Liger, Tenzan, Yuji Nagata, and a handful of others. So if you like Japanese pro wrestling, you'll see a lot of recognizable faces in here. And essentially, as you clear away orbs and you dump junk onto your opponent's side, your character, like tiny little cutscenes will take over where they do one of their signature wrestling moves, and then all of the junk pieces fall into your opponent's side. So that's really cool. Essentially, I mean, this isn't like a mind-blowing game. Like I said, it's very much sort of like like a Puyo Puyo knockoff or a Tetris Battle knockoff. You match up colored orbs, you clear them from the screen, and then you give your opponent some junk, and it's fun. Just a fun one-on-one battle puzzle game, but you throw in that element of it's Japanese professional wrestlers in a puzzle game instead of just like Puyo Puyo characters. That makes it, pretty damn interesting to me, because when I picked this game up the first time, I'd never heard of it before. I think it was being sold for like $3 or something like that. I looked at the cover, I saw Antonio Inoki, obviously. I'm thinking, hey, here comes a cool wrestling game. Look at the back, and no, it's not. You get your, some of these wrestlers kind of cartoonified, and it's a puzzle game. And so I said, pro wrestling, puzzle game, sign me up. And I ended up being pretty happy with it. So this is one I recommend Again, Toukon Inokimichi Puzzle de Da. If you like puzzle games and you like Japanese puroresu, this is a game you're gonna like a lot. Again, you can look down in the description and see how you spell this one. So there you go, 6 more puzzle games that are super fun. They were exclusive to Japan, and now you know about them. And if you love puzzle games, you can go and seek them out, which I would highly recommend you do. Any one of these games is a really good time. If you're an import collector, you can't go wrong with these. And I'm sure there's more. There might be a part 3 to this, where I uncover maybe another half a dozen really great puzzle games that were exclusive to Japan. I know there's more. I've already reviewed Tetris Battle Gaiden before, so I think anyone who has seen that knows what I think about that game. But I could feature that. And there's also the coin exchange one that's really fun. I know there are like more games in the Magical Drop series. For example, more Puyo Puyo games. There's a lot out there. But the 6 today, I am confident in saying that these are some really great games. And if you enjoy imports, I think you should go out of your way to play them, especially if you're a puzzle game fan. And that's going to do it for today. So everybody, thank you very much for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, etc., etc. Go down in the description. There's links to all kinds of social media stuff down there. And also, again, how to spell these games. And yes, thank you so much for stopping by, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.